Hey mamas, you're listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast, the only podcast teaching you how to balance your work, motherhood, and wellness. I am Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist and mama wellness consultant. Each week we dive into tips and strategies and much more so that you too can become a balanced working mama. Let's dive in. Hey mamas, welcome to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. I am Dr. Amber and I am so happy to be talking to you all today. So this episode is just me, a solo episode. I know that we've been doing a ton of interviews, but I definitely wanted to have an episode where it was just me, just chatting. And you all, to be honest, sometimes I get a little nervous when it's a solo episode because I think that, part of me is a teacher. I like to teach. I like to teach about balance and wellness and all of that. But then also, I realized that a lot of what makes Balanced Working Mama so unique is, me just coming as my authentic, true self and sharing, the things that I'm going through. And so I'm always wanting to balance like myself as Dr. Amber, showing up, teaching you all our framework for being balanced in motherhood and our categories of wellness and showing you how to do wellness. And sometimes I think it's okay for me to have some episodes where I'm just talking about my experience of all of this too. And so that's what I'm doing today. And I am really trying to just like combat the chatter in my head that's saying, oh, they don't want to just hear you chat. They don't want to just hear this. Like, you need to plan something. But I know that that's not necessarily true. And so I am challenging myself to just be really authentic in this episode today and kind of unscripted as well. Um, so I'm just going to say that, and we will see where this episode takes us because there's a ton of things that I would love to share and love to talk about today, and I'm just kind of curious to see where it goes. But before we really get into it, one, let me tell you, the quality of this episode, I am not sure how it's going to be in terms of the mic because I don't have my mic right now. I am traveling, y'all. And so by the time you hear this, it will be a week after my travels. But in this current moment, I am sitting in a hotel in San Francisco. If y'all follow me, on Instagram, I shared a ton about my journey and vacation, spring break in San Francisco. And y'all, it was everything that I needed. So I'm here right now, still in the middle of that vacation. But again, by the time you listen to this, it will be a whole week later. And I'll probably have been home already, like getting back to normal life. But in this moment, I am in my hotel. And so I don't have my mic with me. And so the voice quality might be a little off, but I'm sure you all can still hear me. With that being said, y'all, like, there's two things that have really been on my mind recently that I want to talk about. One, I want to actually just talk about this trip and why I took it and all the things that I needed to do to be able to have a week away in San Francisco and how it really required me to put my wellness first. And so, I often talk about, okay, we have to put ourselves first, prioritize our needs, put our wellness first. And this was truly like one of those times where it was a test. It was like, okay, you often talk about putting yourself first. You often talk about this. Are you going to do it in this moment? All right, so y'all, let me tell you how it went down. So I'm actually in San Francisco, one because it's my spring break. Y'all know that I work for a school. And so the one of the few perks, should I say that? Is that okay to say one of the few perks, meaning that there's not many perks? One of the few perks of me working at a school right now is that I have a pretty dope schedule in terms of time off. I get 6 weeks off in the summertime because, kids are off in the summer. I have a spring break, which I'm on right now. I have a winter break, which is typically 2 weeks. in between Christmas and the New Year. I have a full week off for Thanksgiving. I have a lot of time off built into my schedule in addition to sick days. And so that is just so nice because there's these natural breaks that I get to take advantage of and plan around. And so I knew that I was going to get this spring break, and I didn't really have any plans for what to do with it. All the while, my husband, who for his job, he tends to travel occasionally. He comes to me telling me that he needs to go to San Francisco for work. And y'all know I hate when my husband travels for work because it typically means that I am solo parenting. And I've talked about this on the podcast before. Solo parenting is tough for me. It is not easy. I am not one that is like the mom that has it all together. I am not the super dope parent that like never loses her cool. I need my partner here to help me manage the family. And so in the moments, in the days when he has to go away to travel for work, it's really tough. It requires a lot of effort on my end, like mentally, emotionally, but then also physically, just wrangling these kids and getting them to where they need to go. Y'all, this is not easy. And so I felt myself becoming very tense. Whenever something involves work and travel, I get really nervous and tense because I know that that means I'm going to have a hard time. Y'all know I do a lot of things, right? I have a full-time job. I am a mom of two. And I am so lucky enough to be able to create and develop and run Balanced Working Mama. And those are a lot of things. And those things don't stop just because my husband is traveling for work. And so I've been really open and honest with him about this that these times, these moments that come up when you have to travel are really, really tough. All the while having to balance that this is his job and this is also the part of our family income that we also need. And so we've had so many conversations and talks around this. And, part of it has just been that, he will try his best to work around my schedule. And we find times that might be lighter than others. I've been super vocal and upfront about the help that I need when he's away. And it typically involves having some of my children's grandparents help out in various ways, and my husband is super supportive in arranging a lot of that for me. Sometimes my husband will do some meal prepping for the kids, and so cook ahead of time before he leaves so that there's food already here. So my husband has been super supportive. Um, but again, work travel is tough. So either way, because he knew that this was so challenging for me, um, we came up with this new plan. And so this plan was he had some flexibility to schedule this work trip around, and we decided to do it while I was on spring break. And so what that meant was that I was able to go on his work trip with him as a part of my spring break. And y'all, literally just like the best the best decision I could have ever made. And so it means that my children are with their grandparents for a whole week, 7 days, which is the longest that I've been away from both of them. I was away from my son when he was 5 months. We decided to go to Jamaica, and that was like 5 or 7 days. I can't remember. So for him, I've been away, and that was tough, but I did it because I knew I needed it. And this is a similar situation. I'm across the country, and my children are away, and I am doing my own thing and having a great time, you all. Like, just such a great time. But there were two things that almost got in the way of this, right? Like, almost got in the way of this. One, this week is actually the week before Eden, my daughter, turns 1. And again, if you're listening to this, she's already turned 1. She turned 1 on April 16th. And so we will be gone this whole week before she turns 1. And so what that meant was that was not really a lot of time or capacity to really think about a birthday party for her or any birthday thing. That is something that just I did not have capacity for. Our community was open and I was really managing the launch of that. I still had to work and then also prepare to be away for a week, but then also prepare for my children to be with someone else for a week. And so I really had to suck it up and say, hey, it is okay for Eden to not have a elaborate, well thought out birthday for her first. Like, I think that is something that almost caught me up and led me to believe that maybe I should stay just so that she could have something in terms of celebrating her first birthday. But I realized that that does not matter as much as I think it does. And especially when comparing it to my wellness and knowing that I really need some time away and need a break. Um, I realized and I moved forward with my decision to go because me feeling like I needed some rest, I needed some restoration. I didn't want to get to the point of burnout meant that I needed to go on this trip. And so what that meant was I had to put my wellness ahead of this idea that I had about how we should be celebrating Eden's birthday. And I think that's one takeaway. I think sometimes we think that our children need this or our children need that, or it should be like this, keyword should. And we know that shoulds are not requirements. And so I had this idea of what her first birthday should look like. It should look like cake and people and a party, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so instead, I chose to go away for the week with my husband so that I could have rest and restoration, which means that we will have a very small birthday gathering for Eden to celebrate her first birthday. And it be like just us. And I think that's sufficient. And me, letting go of all these ideas of what I thought it should be so that I could take care of myself is what was required. So I'm really proud of myself for that, just reminding myself that this doesn't matter as much as I think. And instead, my wellness matters so much more. I needed to be away, to get away, to rest up, to restore so that I could come back better for my kids, for my family, for my work, for our community. So I didn't let that catch me up, y'all. The second thing that almost got me, the second thing that almost got me, y'all, was this. So, Thursday, the Thursday before we're supposed to leave, Eden's teacher at school messages us and says, "Hey, Eden's been running a fever today. She's got 100 degree fever." And I'm like, "Oh shit, here we fucking go. This is not the time." And so I thanked her. We picked her up. It was true. She had a little bit of a fever. And so it was running between 99.9 and 101. So nothing that was super concerning, but definitely not the norm for her. And she also just seemed really tired. She seemed really clingy. And so that was starting to freak me out because it was like, oh my gosh, what type of mother would I be if I leave for 7 days when my daughter is just starting to get a fever? So, y'all, I think this is also something that trips us up as well when it comes to our wellness. Whenever something is going wrong with our children, there's this like instinct in us as mothers. We need to care for them. We need to be thinking about it. That it's like everything else is no longer a priority, especially our own selves. We no longer think about ourselves, but also there's this societal pressure to no longer think of ourselves because we're afraid of what people might say or how people might judge us if we decide to put something else over the priority or need of our children, right? And so I this is what I did, and I hope that I can articulate this clearly. I was faced with a situation where I had to make sure that my daughter was taken care of. However, I could not allow my anxiety to make this decision for me. Y'all know that I've talked about anxiety a lot. I am someone that has anxiety, and I want to talk about this more in future episodes of the podcast. But if I am not careful as someone with anxiety, my fears and anxiety will make decisions for me. And if you're listening to this and this is something that happens for you, I want you to really start to move slower and be more involved in your thoughts and the processes, your emotions when you start to feel anxiety and fear come up because those are the moments when we have to like get really still so that we're making really informed decisions, right? So if I were to just continue moving in that fear and anxiety of Eden having a fever and her potentially being sick, I would have immediately decided to not go on my trip. And then what would have happened is, I would have taken care of Eden. I would have stayed home. And I also would have been resentful. I would have been upset. I would have been burnt out. I would have been exhausted. I would have been so mad that I missed my trip, right? And so I had to think with a level head. I had to be really clear. I had to balance the anxiety I feel, the worry that I feel, but also the reality. And so what I realized in that moment was that, Friday we kept Eden home. We monitored her temperature. It did not go up. Eden started to seem a little bit better. She didn't have any other symptoms. We COVID tested her. It was negative. Thank the Lord. And so I was able to get clear and make a decision that went something like this. Am I worried that Eden has a fever? Yes. Do I want it to get better? Absolutely. Am I the only one that can care for her in this state right now? No, I'm not. And so I reminded myself that while I am her mama and I probably am the best person to take care of her, in this moment, I did not have to be the only option. And so there's other people in my life that can care for Eden, even when she has a fever. And I went that route of still going on my trip, making sure Eden had what she needed, making sure she was taken care of because I trusted the people that are in my village to care for her. And so it sucked to leave her knowing that she had a fever, but all the while otherwise she seemed fine. But knowing that I had put my wellness first in this way felt really, 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 really good because now I am here having such a great time, just really able to think clearly and to just sit down and to just be with myself and be with my husband and enjoy good food and just have a different scenery is going to allow me to come back to my family in a much different way. And I'm so grateful for it. I am the best person to care for my children, but I am not always the only one that can do it. And I'm grateful for that because doing this all by myself and feeling the pressure that I need to do it all by myself is too much. And I'm hoping that we all can release ourselves of that. I hope that you all have been working on building your village. The mamas in our community are able to take our motherhood wellness assessment in the village, assessing how your wellness is when it comes to the village that you built around your family. That is something that they are paying attention to because they actually have the numbers for how it's looking for them. And so this is something that I think is required when it comes to balance in motherhood. You have to have a village, and your village might not look like mine. We intentionally decided to live in a city where we had family so that we could have that type of village. But if you don't have family in the area, your village might look like hiring a babysitter. Your village might look like getting really closely connected to some of the other parents in your kids' class so that you all can trade off. That might look like, asking your very close friend to watch your kids for a few nights a month. Whatever your village looks like, I hope you tap into it because it will allow you to have more rest, more relaxation, more restoration, more balance, and more wellness in your life. So, you all, I'm so grateful that I've been able to come and just breathe. And I did not allow for the timing of all these things to interfere with me putting my wellness first because I knew I needed this trip. I knew I needed to get away. I wanted this so bad. And I'm so happy that I did not allow fear or anxiety or what other people might think or the shoulds or these like idealized visions in my head get in the way of what I actually needed in this moment. So I'm feeling so good about it, y'all. So good. I think that's it. I hope that there were some nuggets that you all were able to pull out of this very candid, unscripted episode. Um, Otherwise, y'all, I'm feeling really good. I'm feeling really hopeful about our Balanced Working Mama community. We just got 13 new mamas join our community, and I'm super excited about that. I hope that you all are enjoying this season of the podcast. I definitely enjoyed recording all of the episodes, all the interviews, and really feeling good about all the new listeners that's coming to check out the podcast. Y'all, I don't know if you've been following me on Instagram, but I've really fallen into a good groove of creating content that I actually enjoy and feels really creative to me. So that's been really fun for me. I'm just all around in a really good space right now, and I'm just so grateful for it. So I hope that you all are able to say the same. If you are not able to say that you're in a good space right now, I hope that you will commit to working on that and working towards that and potentially commit to joining our community in the summer. We will open our community again the first week of July, and I hope that you will become one of our members. Join us in the community, join our mamas. We have so many amazing things happening in our community, but really, doing the things and supporting each other so that we all can have more balance and wellness in this motherhood journey. All right, y'all, I'm out. I'm about to climb back in this bed in this room and literally just binge Netflix for today. About to go find some snacks, wait until my husband get off work, and then we will probably go grab some dinner. So I am so glad to be able to talk to you all today. Talk to you all soon. Hey, Mama. Thank you for listening to the Balanced Working Mama podcast. If you love this podcast, please be sure to rate it and share it with another mama that you know. And don't forget to follow me and Balanced Working Mama on Instagram. I'll talk to you soon.